Here we go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Cultras Podcast with me, James, Theon, Bethesda, and our guest for today. It is none other than football writer, Hungarian national and Hungarian superfan, Bence Bocsák. Ben, thank you so much for coming onto the pod. Let's talk Hungary. One thinks of in the past two European campaigns. One thinks of the brilliant game against Germany, the 3-3 draw against Portugal. What's the mindset of the national team at the minute? We'll kick off with that. What's the feeling going into this campaign?
I think confidence, like quietly confident, because we know we're not going to be favourites in the group. Like, there's a lot of good teams in there. Switzerland, Scotland, Germany. I think you got to put, in terms of the players that they have, you got to put them above Hungary. I think. In terms of, we are going to be, just even looking at transfer market, if you look at the overall market value of the squads, I think Hungary's is the lowest. But despite all of that, Hungary has been unbeaten in 14 games now, for over a year. Beaten England, drew with beaten England, beaten Germany, beaten Serbia, beaten some really good teams already. So, you got to be confident. You've got the result. We've got a lot of good results, and I think there is a quiet confidence that this could be a successful tournament. But at the same time, we understand very much that we are the underdogs in this group. Like, everything, like the other teams are probably expected to do better than us. So I think it's kind of freeing in a way. Like, we saw that with the last Euros, like everyone expected us to be the whipping boys, and in the end we ended up, I think, like 8 or 10 minutes away from actually qualifying out of that group and potentially facing England in the next round. So it's quiet confidence, but knowing very much that we are the underdogs, but we always have been the underdogs.
It does feel like that group, definitely from looking at them earlier before. Obviously you can't count out Germany, of course, being the home nation, but their current form hasn't been fantastic. Obviously, so been unbeaten for, was it just over a year? You said.
Yeah, just over a year. Yeah, 14 games.
Wow! So you've got Scotland in the mix. Switzerland have the opportunity to be unpredictable, as proven in the last tournament. It does feel like a group that is there for the taking, really.
I think so. I think, you can. I'd argue with that assessment. I think Germany have been a little bit better now with Nagelsmann, to be fair. I think Hansi Flick was a bit of a disaster for them, but under Nagelsmann, they have picked up a little bit of form, and they have a lot of really good players. So I think, given that they'll be home, they're going to be the massive favourites, I think, to win the group. But I think between Switzerland, Scotland and Hungary, it's sort of there for the taking for the second spot, and obviously even the third spot can still qualify. So I think it's a good opportunity for those teams to sort of, finish quite high in the group and get hopefully a favourable sort of draw for the next round.
Are you going to Germany this year? Are you going to watch Hungary?
I'm planning to, so yeah, hopefully I should be there.
Oh, lovely stuff.
Well, I'm having my multiple times to people on this podcast, and no one really cares, rightfully so. I'm having my stag do in Germany this year, which overlaps with the Hungary's game. In England, not bothered about England, don't support England, but I'm very excited to sort of witness the atmosphere.
Is it thereabouts? Are you? Where is the stag do?
It's in Munich. Okay. So never been before. Slightly nervous. Again, Theon as well. We're not England fans, so we're not going to be there in our nice.
I'm Ireland don't qualify for tournaments, and New Zealand aren't in the same continent. So,
No. Yeah.
but I think there's a few surprises coming in this tournament. 20 years after Greece, right? Remember that. So there's got to be something in Matt Letizia maths. There's got to be, it's 20 years. Right? It's Greece. Someone unusual is going to win it again. Yeah. So I was gonna quickly go through the Hungarian legends that have stuck out to me of the past. Obviously Puskás, but I wasn't alive for that. But like one of the all time sort of formative memories. Gabo Kirali wearing tracksuit pants in net. You've just what more do you want? And Balas Judjak as well. He was a player. Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think of any others.
Zoltán Gera is probably one that.
Zoltán Gera.
Zoltán Gera.
Of course.
Yeah.
There's what Christian Listaš as well, who won a Bundesliga in the early 2000s, and now his son of the same name is heading to the Bundesliga this summer. So he's probably one that kind of goes under the radar. But he did win a Bundesliga with Stuttgart or Werder Bremen, I think. Can't remember which club, but yeah, he was quite good as well.
Did Gera scoring that 3-3 draw against Portugal?
I think Jujak got 2 and Gera got 1.
Yeah. I always remember that when someone hands Ronaldo a note when they get subbed on. And I was like, oh. So looking at Portugal, they drew all their games and then...
didn't win a game in 9 minutes, did they?
Yeah. Hungary finished top of that group, actually, in 2016. Portugal finished 3rd, and I think Iceland was 2nd, and Iceland went on to play England.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. I remember that I was on the Barbie in Unsworth Cricket Club for that game, and I nearly got glassed for laughing when the second one went in. Just been done by an Icelandic long throw. That's objectively fun. But what I was going to ask you, Ben, was obviously there's a few Premier League players heading towards the Euros with Hungary. You've got Szoboszlai, obviously, Milos Kerkez for Bournemouth, and I think that's it. Bar the most interesting, Callum Styles from Barnsley. As we were saying before, so I think I just get you to retell that story that you told us before, that we should have recorded before, because it was good.
I don't know. I think, his Styles, I've interviewed him before in the mix zone, and he's quite a nice guy. I think he just sort of, when I spoke to him, he was just telling me how buzzing he is to be part of the squad. He said it's his second home, almost. That's what he said to me, and just like, he's really looking forward to the Euros. I think at the time, qualification was pretty much secured, but not on paper. So he was still talking about there's a job to do. But he's quite a nice story. I think I think he qualifies for his grandma. If he didn't have that sort of link to Hungary, normally, realistically speaking, he'd never get that opportunity to play at a Euros. Playing for Sunderland in the Championship, and being, I think, 23, 24 years old, like, there's no realistic chance of playing for England. But I think it's nice that he sort of managed to qualify in some way and go to play for a national team. I think he actually qualifies for Ukraine as well, but decided to go for Hungary. So it was a bit of a coup for Hungary in that regard, because he qualifies for another nation that you probably say potentially is of a sort of bigger stature than Hungary in terms of the players that they have. But I think he's done quite well since he's come into the team. I wouldn't say he's a nailed-on starter yet, but he's definitely had his moments. I think the highlight for him was probably beating England 4-0. I think he absolutely loved the celebrations then. He was part of that team, and from just remembering his sort of Instagram stories, like he seemed to be absolutely buzzing, as you would, you know. If I'm sure, like, you know, if you were born in England and you managed to beat the country that, you know, you sort of didn't get into their national team for, but another national team, you'd be buzzing as well. So yeah, he's a sort of good squad player to have in the squad.
It's something that I've really enjoyed, like from like just a football fan perspective. It's just like a great thing to see. It's kind of like the opposite of what happened maybe sort of like 10, 15 years ago. Like I remember the sort of opinion of Owen Hargreaves playing in for Bayern Munich was considered like, oh, that's like what a really weird decision, or like what a really like, why would you do that? Why could you not play in England? Where now you've got, you know, like the Styles, you've got Matty Cash, Ben Brereton Diaz, a lot of players who like might not fit into first national team but can qualify for other nationalities through the Grand Prix. I think it's amazing to see. I think it should be the way forward. I think it'd be amazing. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
and what a story! Like you say, what a story as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, there's quite a few stories like that in the national team for Hungary. So at the last Euros, Loic, or as in Hungary we sort of Hungarianize his name and call him Lajos Negro. He's right back for Le Havre, but he played for many years in Hungary and he has a Hungarian wife. So he qualifies because he spent, I think, 5 years in the country, and you then qualify for citizenship, and by FIFA rules as well, you qualify to represent that country. So he represents the national team, even though at youth level he played with Antoine Griezmann in the French national team setup, and obviously played against them at the last Euros, played against Griezmann, even though they were teammates at youth international level. So yeah, that one is kind of a special one. And facing Germany again this time around, we'll have Willi Orban, who was born in Germany, to a Hungarian dad and a Polish mother, and he decided to represent Hungary. He also, I think, played for Germany at youth level, and then Márton Dárdai as well. His dad was a big sort of Hungarian football legend, played for Hertha for many years, is still their manager, and he actually represented Germany at under-21 level last year. He was at the Euros, and he's going to be playing for Hungary now, though. He's decided to switch, and also he's going to be facing potentially some of his teammates from the under-21 tournament, and obviously he's the country that he used to represent. So there is a few sort of players like that in the squad.
Awesome.
I was looking at the strikers here on my deep research on SofaScore. There's not exact, because I thought Jalai would be on there, but is he retired now, Adam Jalai?
Yeah, so Saleh has retired now. He retired sort of towards the end of almost 2 years ago now that he's retired.
It's up to date.
Saleh has, Szoboszlai has since taken on the captaincy on, and under Szoboszlai, since he's taken on the captaincy, Hungary have been unbeaten. So since 2022 now.
Well, do you think there's having a big star like sort of, you know, in a top Premier League team is sort of maybe Hungary's version of where is it? There he is, Vulture. Does that raise expectations, or what do you think? What do you think it kind of role having a player in obviously like an elite club plays versus not having one?
I don't think it raises expectations. I think it sort of elevates the team. Like you mentioned Kvaratskhelia. When you watch Georgia, I think since he's come in and since he's established himself at Napoli, all the other Georgian players have sort of elevated their game and sort of risen up to try to in any way rise up to his level. And you see Georgia playing with a lot more confidence and a lot more belief, and they're getting impressive results. And even when he gets taken off in extra time in the playoffs against Greece, Georgia sort of still maintained their threat and managed to get a historic qualification for their country. So I think it's a little bit similar to Soboslai. When I speak to the Hungarian players, they all tell me, like, it's kind of reassuring to have him in the team. He's always telling them, if you get stuck, just give the ball to me. I'll take care of it and stuff like that. And obviously, I think it's important to note as well, and he'll say that, he'll be the first to say that, but it isn't just Soboslai. Like, he's not the only star in the team. Milos Kerkez is a fantastic young player. He's going places, I believe. And on top of that, you have Roland Shalai, who's doing very well at Freiburg. Billy Orban, like I mentioned, he's been one of the best centre backs in the Bundesliga over the last few years, and Peter Gulacsi as well. He's been a brilliant goalkeeper in the Bundesliga, and the fact that he's not even guaranteed to start, because you have Dénes Dibus, who's the Ferencváros goalkeeper, who's done really well in Europa League and sort of Europa Conference League games over the last few years, even in the Champions League. So you have a lot of sort of very, very good, strong players in the team alongside him, and that obviously helps as well. I think it's been a long time since 8 Hungarian players from the national team have been playing in a top 5 European league. When I spoke to Marco Rossi, that's something he highlighted, that's been really helpful with the way more national team players have managed to go to really high levels in Europe, and it sort of helps his job because they sort of understand the levels and understand the standards, whereas before it was a little bit more trickier, I think, for Hungary. Like, when you're going from playing in the Hungarian first division or the equivalent in another European league and then stepping up to playing big European games, the gap is huge. But when you have players who are playing at a high level in Europe, have experience playing in European competitions, obviously that sort of step up is a lot easier to make, and that's why then you're able to make really good results against the likes of Germany and England, and you're able to sort of draw with France at the Euros and get a good result against Germany as well.
I feel like that's something that's also been stamped out as well, as that mentality, maybe from sort of media of like, oh well, they've only got, like, Wales were probably a good example before they qualified. It's Bale's team and stuff like, but you can galvanise, a nation around. And that's no disrespect to Aaron Ramsey or the other members of the team, but yeah, I feel that mentality, especially from like a lot of older football fans, like
one-man team and stuff.
Yeah, but Macedonia, when they beat Italy to qualify at the last Euros, is another example. I was hoping, is there no rumour or sniff of maybe Adam Bogdan getting into the team?
Oh, he's retired. He's retired now.
Yeah,
oh, was he? Oh,
yeah.
I had no idea.
It was about 35, 10 years ago.
I know Adam very well. He's a very nice guy, but he's retired now. He's in TV punditry and doing his coaching licenses and stuff like that. And I think he's just enjoying retirement. The last time I interviewed him, it was showing off. He was in somewhere sunny, and he took me to his terrace and showed off like what a nice view he had. Where I was like, well, I'm stuck in Wales at the moment, and not so sunny as it always is. It's not very sunny here, so yeah, I think he's enjoying retirement, enjoying being in sunny places and bathing in the sun.
Yeah.
I loved him. I loved him at Liverpool. I know he was limited caps, but yeah, I absolutely loved him. And
He's actually on 36. Apologies
I think
to
he
Adam
was
Bogdan.
sort of hard done as well at Liverpool. I think he did make, I think, 1 or 2 errors, but I think he was never really sort of given the opportunity to redeem himself. He's a talented goalkeeper, and I think he had his good moments as well, like the Carlisle game in the League Cup when he saved a few penalties. And obviously he's gone on to do very well, I think, since then. Played for Ferencváros and played in the Champions League, was in Hungary's last squad for the Euros, and he's was actually teammates with Szoboszlai as well in for the national team. So yeah, he's done all right since leaving Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely joy to watch Szoboszlai this season. On my wall chart, I've circled all the all the Hungary games. I absolutely adore watching him play. I think he's been, without that, one of our best players this season. He's absolutely phenomenal. I wanted to ask. I've asked the other guests as well who've this question. There's sort of what's like the landscape of Hungarian football at the minute. Obviously, the national team qualified for now 3 European Championships in a row. But sort of, from a grassroots level to like domestically in the first division, what's the sort of mentality or attitude at the minute?
It's a good question. I think it's always changing in Hungary. You have, I think right now the biggest challenge is getting more young players into the high, like the first division, to play regular games in top flight football. That's like the biggest challenge in Hungary, because we only have a 12 team league and it's very competitive. Teams don't want to get sort of relegated to the second division, and what you'll have is managers and owners picking sort of more experienced players, and the young players don't tend to get as many opportunities. There are a few outliers, like for example MTK Budapest, who, like, from a long time ago, they've always sort of invested into youth and they have a really good academy, and they play a lot of youngsters. But there's a few others who I think could do more. And because when a young player does get an opportunity, like I mentioned, Christian Listes Jr., they end up doing really well and going into bigger places and going to sign for top clubs. I think another example is Zalán Voncha, who ended up being picked up by the City Group after having a really impressive UEFA Youth League tournament with MTK Budapest, and then playing in their first team and doing really well in their first team as well. And obviously that got attention from big clubs, and he got picked up, and he's doing very well at Lommel in the City Group's Belgian team at the moment.
Right.
So I think he's one who could be a wild card for Hungary's Euro squad, and he's definitely one to watch. But yeah, in terms of the overall sort of grassroots level, it's I think there's a lot of passion for football in Hungary, even more so now that Dominik Szoboszlai has become sort of almost the face of Hungary, I would say.
Right.
Like, your grandma will know of him. Everyone knows of him. Since he's moved to Liverpool, like, my grandma started watching Liverpool games, which I don't think would be ever possible, and everyone's grandmas is watching Liverpool games, and they're sort of asking, how is he doing? He's got a major sort of television advert now as well with the biggest sort of phone supplier in Hungary. He's got massive posters of him if you go to Budapest. So because of that, like, all the young kids want to be him and want to play football. So there's a lot more interest in the game as well, I would say. A lot more people wanting to follow in his footsteps. Like I said, I think the biggest sort of tricky thing is to find a way to give younger players more opportunities, because at the moment what you'll have is most of them will end up going abroad relatively early. But I think if you make the domestic league stronger with young Hungarian players, then I think it's a lot more sustainable rather than having to rely on European clubs abroad to develop your own talent. So I think that's the challenge. But I think people in the Hungarian Football Federation are doing a good job sort of trying to figure out ways around it and implementing things.
I suppose competitions, a lot of criticism came in for the addition of the Conference League. I think it's fantastic. And unfortunately, with the aggregated way that the Champions League is being,
efficient nonsense.
yeah,
Bullshit.
whatever they're gonna do with that, like I imagine it's been great to see, for like the Europa League and the Conference League to see, Hungarian clubs have that chance to, compete in Europe. That might not be okay. It's not, sort of a Champions League level, but to just have that European experience must be massive.
Yeah, although as far as I understand it, the new Champions League format doesn't really change things for Hungarian clubs. It's always been just one club being allowed, and it's still going to be the same sort of format to qualify for it. So
Right.
I think in that sense, I think the Conference League has been good. Like Ferencváros wouldn't have been able to compete in Europe if it wasn't for the Conference League this season. Their aspirations are always a little bit bigger. They'll want to go Europa League and Champions League, so it was a bit of a disappointment to get to the Conference League actually, but I think it's been good for them. It's a good experience. I mean, the only problem is like they're the only ones who actually realistically have a chance to compete in Europe. The rest of the teams are just not at that level, and I think they'll get eliminated quite early on in those competitions against probably sides who you look and say they shouldn't be beating them on paper, but they still lose because I just think they're sort of not at that level yet and don't have the. I think there's almost like with some clubs, there's not even that much of a motivation to do well in Europe because they know even if you go a couple of rounds in the qualifiers, that doesn't bring you a lot of money. And like I mentioned, the Hungarian league is very competitive and it starts like early July. So when the qualifiers start, the league is already in progress, and a lot of clubs will therefore just focus on their league form because you don't want to get relegated, and even a few games because it's so tight can cost you those spots. So I think the qualifiers have sort of been neglected by the other teams because they know there's no realistic chance of them getting into the group stages, and yeah, that's why you see that's when young players are given a chance crazily in the European qualifiers and don't always put out their strongest teams.
Ferencváros have a really nice ground though. When I remember getting off the bus at Budapest, turning around and going, "Oh, that's nice." And one of my favourite players of all time, Mo Besic, plays for Ferencváros. So, absolute psychopath. The best kind of player to have. I was gonna ask you, mate, just sort of. We'll try and do this as a theme for the Euros previews. Predictions. Now this might end quite quickly, depending on if you think you're gonna get beat. So the first game is against. Is it Germany? The first game.
Yeah, I think so.
Oof, that's an hard one. Is it in Berlin or where? Do you know where it is? Or the first?
I believe it might be in Munich, although I'm not 100% sure.
Have you got your wall chart to hand, James? But we'll find out the venue.
Downstairs.
No, well, no, never mind. Yeah. So how do you think the Germany game goes, mate? What we
I think
saying?
that one is the most unpredictable one because there's not like Germany is a bit of a wild card for this Euros. I think they could either do really well or really badly. I have a feeling it's probably going to be really well. I think Nagelsmann has done a good job and they've got really good young players. So I think Germany will get a win. Will just edge it and end Hungary's unbeaten run. But I think Hungary will put up a good fight and it'll be a close game. I think it'll be quite tight. And then I think the next one after that is Scotland, I believe.
Australia, Scotland, also it's one of them. So it begins with an S. Same thing.
So I think having that Germany game out of the way might be.
I think that's an advantage in that group, isn't it?
Yeah, because then you just know as long as you get the wins over the other two, then you're qualified. Although again, I don't know. Sometimes I think maybe playing the favourite last. I mean, it's a bit of a gamble, but it might work in your favour as well. Because if Germany is already qualified, then they'll put maybe their second string side out, and you can get an upset and a sort of a shock result. So it can work either ways. But I think Hungary will back themselves to get results against Switzerland and Scotland, and they kind of see the Germany one as a bit of a sort of almost opportunity to prove yourself. Like it's a bit of a write-off, but that becomes a little bit freeing in a way because you've got nothing to lose. You might as well just go for it, and I think that's what Hungary will do.
Yeah, I think it's I think the worst to play the favourite of the group would be in the middle, wouldn't it? Because then you've got but if you get them out. Like, but I think that's maybe why when Hungary got a result against Germany last time, you see, because there's no expectation, you can sort of just it's a bit of freedom then, isn't it? Just go on. So it works both ways, really, doesn't it?
Like most of the best players in the Hungary squad have played their best years in Germany, so there's a bigger incentive for them to do well against Germany. So I think
that's especially a host, is a lot of host pressure and etc. So
it'd be amazing that though. Oh, last minute Slovzai winner. Oh, please.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah, please.
I suppose because we are the Cultras Podcast, question we ask all our guests: if there's one sort of player who defines the sort of cult figure of Hungarian football, do you have one in mind? I mean, just before you answer, we like Karali, that Theo mentioned before. I think in Britain is sort of universally known as, obviously, people might not know his name, but if you go that keeper who wore tracksuit bottoms, everyone go, I know exactly who you mean. Zoltan Gira is another great shout, but is it one of them, or is there someone who stands out for you as being sort of a cult icon?
In the current squad?
Yeah, you can go current all the time.
Both.
I mean, in the current squad, I would say the biggest sort of character and cultural figure is András Schäfer, who plays for Union Berlin. He's a midfielder, and he's a big character in the squad. He's always joking around, and he's on social media posting memes all the time about his teammates and stuff like that. And he's also there's a sort of like classical cult like Hungarian rock song that he popularized because he mentioned that the team plays it, and now it's played before every sort of national team game, almost like like Sweet Caroline, but less cringe for England. So that's for that he has to be the sort of cult figure because he sort of influenced the track list before games for the national team games, and I think he's got to be one. In terms of like in Hungary, like there's a lot of cult figures that I won't mention because like you guys all never have heard of them, but there's a few.
There's Pushkas, obviously, is sort of probably all time, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but there's also like just like, for example, it was a striker for Debrecen who became a cult figure because I think Debrecen played like a friendly against AC Milan, and he had a little bit of a spat with David Beckham, and he's sort of they had a little bit of an altercation on the pitch, and he's sort of made a career of just retelling that story over and over again in the Hungarian media, and he's become like known for the guy who had a spat with David Beckham, and you'll have like the Hungarian equivalent of like the Sun or of like other publications like that every few months writing an article like what etc. really said to David Beckham in that famous old and stuff like that.
That's great.
So yeah, he's probably like one of those cult figures, and there's a few others like that as well.
I've just remembered another Middlesbrough's favourite Hungarian, Josef Varga, who came from
Oh, yeah.
Debrecen. So,
I think it's still
another
going.
mid. Is he still going?
I think the favourite though who's played in England, my favourite is Balint Baina. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he played for Ipswich, and one time he got substituted at just before half time, and the Ipswich manager said at the time it was so he could get like a round of applause from the fans rather than being substituted at half time. But he became a cult figure. I think he ended up playing for a League One club. I think it was Notts County. They were in League One at the time, and basically all the local Hungarians flew over. Like the Hungarian ultras just ended up going to their games, and they had like Hungarian flags everywhere, and they used to like chant "No Binary, no party" at and like he actually became like famous for it. Like all the Notts County Facebook posts and comments were full of just Hungarian people commenting "No binary party." And in all fairness to him, like after that, I think he ended up going back to Borussia Dortmund, playing for their second team, and then making his debut on the Jurgen Cup for the first team. So he's had quite like a career, and then eventually, obviously, he was never good enough to play for Dortmund, so his career kind of went sideways. And I think nowadays he's more of a bodybuilder, from what I know, than an actual footballer. But, I think he's still in his early 30s, so he should be playing. But I think he's only playing sort of like lower leagues in Hungary, semi-professional, and has a bodybuilding career. But fair play to him for from Notts County going and making your debut on the Jurgen Klopp. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a pub story for the ages, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. I love it as well, where a nation sort of idolises a player that much that they go over to support them no matter what. We tried to do that as New Zealand fans. I went 2 years ago to watch Chris Wood at Newcastle, and we had inflatable Kiwis, and a Newcastle fan who was a child asked me, "What on earth is that?" And I went, "Oh, it's a Kiwi. It's a flightless bird." And he took it off me and popped it. But it's nice to know that it's maybe we need to do a better job as New Zealand fans. Thank you so much.
Just quickly, James, before you do that, I've just some reporting here. I've just Googled Balint Baina. Notts County, this is from January 26th, 2015. Notts County banned the entire nation of Hungary from commenting on the Facebook post.
Yeah, I think that's what ended up happening.
No, just got too out of hand. That's very funny though. I'm gonna have to have a deep dive into Balint Baina. He sounds like an interesting fellow. 6'4" 6'4" striker, a proper height for a striker as well.
Exactly.
Is he still playing, or is he retired?
He's not got a club, I don't think.
Oh,
he was always. I think there was one time he was rumored of going to like Kaiser Chiefs, I think, in South Africa. I mean, that would have been crazy, but I think that transfer never worked out. But yeah, he's 33, so like I said, he should be at a club, but I think he's only
no, current team, Kaiser Chiefs. Hey,
no, he never ended up playing for them.
It's got on Wikipedia. It does say that, yeah, but it doesn't say 20. But then you look further down. 2021 was the end of his career. Someone's just edited that on Wikipedia.
He joined in February. He joined Haladáš in the second division in Hungary, but he hasn't made an appearance for them. So like if you look at his Instagram, if you find his Instagram, he's kind of bulked up a bit. I think he's more of like the sort of bodybuilder, social media influencer type of guy now. He's got 40,000 followers.
Oh,
Yeah, and if you look at his latest Instagram post, he's got the bulging muscles and stuff. He's that kind of guy now.
justice for Valentine.
This is the perfect narrative. All I'll say is there's a team across from Meadow Lane who are in a relegation battle at the minute. Like you said, he's a big bodybuilder guy. You need a strong man up top. But Nottingham Forest might be banned from Notts County. That'd be great if Nottingham Forest just went, player announcement, you're welcome here, son. Don't worry about them over there. Save them on the final day and they stay up.
Yeah.
It writes itself.
Yeah, you've got to get in touch, slip into his DMs. Maybe he does fancy it. You never know.
Maybe you can give me some tips on increasing my body mass. But this has been fantastic. And honestly, like, it's genuinely been amazing. We've loved doing these. I've absolutely loved this one as well. And like I say, Budapest on my bucket list for football to watch a game in the first division. So I'm definitely going to have to do that. Good luck at the Euros. I genuinely hope. Just love it if you top the group. Where can people find you, Ben?
Just on Twitter at the moment. So if you go at Bence Bocsák, you can find me there. Probably have to spell that because I don't think people will be able to. So it's Ben Bocsák, and you can find me there. Probably if you Google my name as well, you'll be able to find my Twitter account. I'm pretty sure that's the first thing that comes up. So that's pretty much where you can find me at the moment.
Thank you very much, man.
Definitely go and check him out. Yeah. And as always, you can follow us at Cultras Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow Fionn at Fionn Bateza and his band Vulture Authority. And you can follow me at James Allen 27. And come back next week where we'll have another Euro preview. So thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye bye.